This happened a few months ago. I was 32 and had recently moved to Alaska for the stunning landscapes and wildlife. I thought I would find peace in a cabin near Denali National Park. After my breakup, I hoped solitude would clear my head and help me focus on my photography. I set up my gear and started capturing everything I could. The days passed peacefully. It was quiet, just me, the tall pines, and the cool mountain air. But one evening, while editing photos, I heard a rhythmic tapping on the walls. I thought it was branches hitting the wood. It was annoying, but I shrugged it off. Days passed, and the tapping grew louder. It turned into a constant drumming. I couldn't concentrate on my work. I decided to check outside. I opened the door, but only shadows danced in the moonlight. I walked around the cabin, my heart racing. I listened for footsteps, but heard nothing but the rustling leaves. Later, I heard what sounded like a child laughing. I stood frozen, the chill of the air going to my bones. Maybe it was kids playing somewhere nearby, but I hadn't seen anyone in weeks. My heart pounded as I waited for another laugh. It faded into the distance, and a cold shiver crept up my spine. That night, the tapping intensified. It seemed to echo from the roof. Thud, thud, thud. I felt my skin prickling. I tried to tell myself it was just the cabin settling, but that didn't make sense. I felt trapped inside. The walls seemed to close in on me. I spent hours staring out the windows, hoping to see something, anything, to explain the noises. I even recorded them. But the recordings showed nothing, just silence. One night, as I lay in bed, I heard the tapping again, louder and more urgent, right outside my window. My heart raced. I pulled the covers tight around me. I don't remember falling asleep, but when I opened my eyes again, everything felt wrong. The air was thick and heavy. Then I heard it, a soft voice calling my name. Liam. I shot upright, looking around the empty room. I turned to the window and there was nothing. But I felt it, right beyond the glass. I had to check. I stood up, my legs shaking, and crept to the window. I was terrified but needed to know. As I pulled back the curtain, the cold moonlight flooded in. I squinted, and then I saw it, a small figure standing in the trees, just out of reach of the light. I froze. The figure looked like a child, but then something twisted inside me. The child tilted its head, and suddenly I couldn't tell if the noise I heard was laughter or a cry. It felt wrong, and I stumbled back. The laughter echoed in the air, but I was alone in my cabin. I closed my eyes, thinking it was just a trick of the mind, but when I opened them again, the child was gone. In its place, I saw another face I knew all too well. My ex-girlfriend, smiling, but her eyes were empty. I fell back against the wall. I thought I was losing my mind, but maybe the real horror was that whatever was calling me was now deeper in the woods. I didn't know if I should run or stay. I just stood there, heart racing, stuck between reality and something much darker. I couldn't shake the image of my ex's empty eyes. Their gaze lingered in my mind, making me question my reality. With a trembling breath, I tried to focus. I needed to find out what was really happening, what or who was outside the cabin. I crept back to the window. I peered into the darkness, scanning every shadow. My pulse quickened with each passing second. I had to know if that small figure was really a child or a trick of my fatigue. When nothing moved, I resolved to step outside. I grabbed my flashlight and slipped on my boots, feeling the cold wood against my skin. The door creaked loudly as I stepped out, but the night was deathly quiet. I pointed the flashlight toward the trees, my breath visible in the chilly air. Just a few yards from the cabin, I spotted the spot where I had seen the figure. It felt different now, more ominous. I shivered, realizing I was alone in this vast, dark place. The faint sound of laughter echoed again, this time closer. It sent a wave of dread through me. I turned in the direction of the noise, shining the beam of light straight ahead. "Hello?" I called, trying to sound confident. "Is someone there?" No response. just the wind rustling the pine branches. I took a hesitant step forward, each crack of twigs beneath my feet amplified in the silence. My instinct screamed for me to turn back, but curiosity pulled me closer to the trees. Suddenly my flashlight flickered. I quickly checked the batteries, cursing my lack of preparation. I hoped it was just a glitch, but it dimmed again, and with a final pop, it went out completely. Panic surged. I was plunged into darkness, and the laughter grew louder, more insistent. I fumbled in the dark, panic clawing at my chest. I turned to head back to the cabin when I saw it, a glow coming from deeper in the woods. It flickered like a candle, and the laughter morphed into chanting. Chills ran down my spine. I should have fled, but something compelled me forward. As I pushed through the underbrush, fear mixed with an unsettling curiosity. The glow grew brighter, illuminating a small clearing. In the center, I saw a circle of stones, and standing around them were shadowy figures. They seemed familiar, their forms flickering like smoke. People I'd known from my past, faces shaped by memories but twisted now. I blinked, trying to process what I was seeing. My heart raced again. "What are you doing?" I called, but my voice was swallowed by the woods. One of the figures turned, and it was her, my ex, looking as she did the day we met. But this time her face was set in a grim expression. "You shouldn't be here, Liam," she said, her voice echoing against the trees. I recoiled. "What do you mean?" "Not everyone who calls is a friend." Before I could respond, one of the other figures reached toward me, and everything around me shifted. The trees faded, and suddenly I was back in my cabin, breathing heavily. I was alone again, but that eerie glow was still in my memory. I ran to the window once more, ready to confront whatever haunted me, but all I saw were the dark branches swaying against the night sky. My heart pounded in my chest. I didn't just need answers. I needed to survive whatever this was. I just hoped I wasn't too late. I stood at the window, my mind racing with disbelief. Could this have been a dream? I forced myself to breathe, but the air felt thick, suffocating. The silence of the cabin was too loud. I needed to check the front door, maybe even the back. What if something had followed me inside? I moved cautiously through the darkness, the floor creaking underfoot. I could still hear that laughter, like a whisper just on the edge of understanding. I reached for the knob, my hand shaking. My heart drummed loudly in my ears, and I flung the door open. The crisp air hit my face like a splash of cold water. I stepped outside, scanning the area for signs of the figures I had seen. My ex, the others. Nothing. Just the shadows of the trees and the slowly settling fog. I squinted into the night, but there was no trace of whatever had been lurking in the woods. Yet deep down, I felt the lingering sense of being watched. A rustle made me jump. I swung the flashlight toward the source, praying to catch a glimpse of a deer or anything that would relieve my tension. Instead, my beam fell on something small, crumpled, partially hidden by the grass. My heart dropped. I knelt down to get a better look. It was a child's stuffed animal, a worn teddy bear, its eyes missing, one ear tattered. I recognized it. My sister used to have a bear just like this one. I picked it up, feeling a shiver run through me. Why was this here? It was too far from the nearest house and too far from my childhood memories. I stood there clutching the bear. Then I heard it again. Laughter echoing from the trees, a high-pitched giggle that was borderline unnatural. I glanced toward the sound, heart pounding, and saw a flicker of light again, deeper in the woods. The glow pulsed, like a heartbeat, against every rational instinct. I wanted to see it again. I could feel the pull, an almost magnetic draw. With the stuffed bear in one hand and the remnants of my flashlight flickering to life in the other, I took a step forward. "Why am I doing this?" I whispered to myself, but each step felt like I was being guided rather than acting out of free will. I fought the urge to look back, as if doing so would break the spell. The chanting returned, louder now, a rhythmic sound that echoed all around me. As I approached the clearing, I could make out the figures again, swaying in sync with the eerie glow. They stood in a circle, still indistinct, like shadows in a dream. One by one, I recognized them. My ex, friends I'd lost touch with, even faces I didn't want to remember, each face twisted with emotion, as if trapped in a loop of past regrets. Then it happened. One of the figures locked eyes with me. It was my sister. I gasped, clutching the stuffed bear tighter. The aura of warmth that once surrounded her now radiated a chilling emptiness. "Help us, Liam," she mouthed silently, her lips moving in a ghastly rhythm. A surge of fear and urgency rose in me. I couldn't stay. I turned and sprinted back toward the cabin, but something stopped me. A branch snapped behind me. I whirled around, breath hitching. Someone was in the woods with me. The air grew heavy, and I realized I wasn't alone. That's when I saw them, more figures emerging from the trees, their forms twisted and grotesque, as if the shadows had taken a life of their own. I turned and ran, but the laughter followed, echoing through the trees like a haunting chorus. I needed to escape this reality before they pulled me in completely. I stumbled through the brush, branches clawing at my clothes. I could hear their laughter mingling with the rustling leaves. My chest felt tight, as if I were being squeezed from all sides. Each step further away from the clearing felt like a small victory, but I could still feel their eyes on me. Panic surged through my veins as I reached the cabin door. I ripped it open and slammed it shut behind me, the heavy thud echoing in the silence. I pressed my back against the wooden frame, breathless. The cabin felt like a fortress, but I knew that safety was just an illusion. I need to gather my thoughts. I paced the dimly lit room, the only sound the faint creaking of the floorboards. The bear was still in my hand, and I felt an unsettling connection to it. What was this thing doing out there? And why did it make me feel so vulnerable? I grabbed my phone, hoping for a signal, but the screen remained blank. "Come on," I muttered under my breath, frustration turning to dread. I had to get out of here. I needed help. Just then, I heard a gentle knock at the door. My heart raced. I pressed my ear against the cold wood. It was soft, almost childlike, and for a brief moment, I felt a sliver of hope. Maybe it was someone looking for me. I hesitated, though. The laughter still lingered in my ears, taunting me. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice trembling. No response, just another knock, more insistent this time. It sent a jolt of fear through me. I moved away from the door, trying to decide what to do next. The only other option was the back exit, and that felt like a death wish. The laughter erupted again, louder now, and I knew I couldn't ignore it. They weren't going to let me hide for long. Suddenly, the door swung open, and I stepped back in shock. No one stood there, just the darkness beyond. I peered into the thick night, instinctively tightening my grip on the bear. It felt like a lifeline, a connection to what I knew, what was happening. I could feel the air changing, thickening. Shadows danced just outside my vision, and the laughter morphed into whispers, familiar, discordant. "Come play with us. Join us." I swiveled to the window, hoping against hope that the sight of the outside world might center me. As I looked out, a horrific sight met my eyes. A mass of shifting shapes moved closer, the same figures I feared, but now more defined, eyes glowing like coals in the night. They were coming for me. With no other option left, I darted toward the back door, heart pounding. Just as I reached for the handle, I glanced back to see my sister's face through the glass, her expression a mix of sorrow and urgency. "Help us," she mouthed again, and the shadows behind her loomed larger. I opened the back door and sprinted into the night, leaving the flicker of light and cries behind me. But as I ran, the ground beneath my feet shifted. That's when I felt it. Something grabbed my ankle, dragging me down into the darkness. I was yanked to the ground, the world spinning around me. My heart raced as I struggled against whatever had a hold of me. Panic clawed at my throat. I kicked and twisted, but the grip was unyielding. My hands dug into the earth, grasping for anything, roots, rocks, anything I could use to pull myself free. I could hear the laughter again, echoing around me, growing louder. It wrapped around me like a cold blanket, smothering. I didn't want to look back, but the whispers pulsed through me. Join us! Join us! With one final desperate kick, I broke free. I scrambled to my feet, gasping for breath, but the moment I stood, I felt a surge of dread. The shapes from the clearing circled around me, their eyes glinting in the darkness. One moved closer, and I recognized the silhouette, the twisted form of my sister. Her face was a mask of sorrow, reflecting the dark shadows swirling behind her. "Help us!" she pleaded again, but there was something off in her voice, something wrong. "Stay back!" I shouted, pushing away from her. I blinked and took a step back, trying to reassess my surroundings. The shadows danced wildly, their laughter escalating as they pressed in. I stumbled backward, tripping over a root. Before I could get up, a figure darted toward me. I turned in time to see a child's face, twisted and grinning, eyes glowing. "You can't leave!" He reached for me and I rolled to the side, at last getting my feet beneath me. That's when I saw it. My phone lying just behind a gnarled tree, its screen flickering. Maybe there was still hope. I raced toward it, ignoring the shadows closing in. If I could just grab it and get some evidence of what was happening, maybe someone would believe me. The whispers intensified, a cacophony of disembodied voices that felt like nails against my skin. "You're ours now. No way out." I dove for the phone, stretching out my hand. My fingers brushed the screen just as a shadow crashed into me, sending me sprawling to the ground again. They were all around me now, their laughter echoing in my ears, blending with the screams of my sister. It was chaotic, a nightmare I couldn't wake from. "I won't join you!" I screamed, pushing against the dirt as the weight of their presence bore down on me. Then there was silence. A sudden hush fell over the forest, and I looked around, bewildered. The shadowy figures receded for a moment, as if waiting, watching. My heart thudded. This wasn't over. There, caught in the moonlight, I could see the outline of a path leading into the trees. It was clear, almost inviting, and yet it sent a prickle of fear through me. But it was my only option for escape. I took a deep breath and sprinted toward it, hoping I wasn't running headfirst into more danger. As I dashed into the woods, the shadows surged forward once again. That's when I heard the voice, clearer than the others. "You can't leave us. We need you." I stumbled, dread pooling in my gut. There was something more behind their laughter, something darker. What did they mean by needing me? Then everything went dark. I awoke on a cold, damp ground, disoriented and gasping. The world around me was still dark, but soft glimmers of light peeked through the thick trees above. For a brief moment I thought I might have escaped, until I remembered the shadows, their voices echoing in my mind. Panic surged within me again. I scrambled to get to my feet, the chill of the earth clinging to my skin. I took a moment to gather myself, my heart racing. I needed to focus. Where was I? What had happened? I turned back toward the way I'd come, but the path was gone, swallowed by the thick foliage. I felt as if I'd just stepped into another realm, far too quiet now, save for the faint rustle of leaves. The laughter had faded, leaving only the soft murmurs of the wind. Was it over? Had the shadows vanished? Then, as if in answer, the laughter returned, fractured and mocking. I froze. They were close. I spun around, scanning the trees, but there was nothing, just the shadowy outlines of branches and the prickly sensation of being watched. I pressed on, moving away from the eerie voices. My mind raced with possibilities. I had to find a way out of this twisted situation. I stumbled forward, tripping over roots and rocks, desperate to escape the suffocating darkness. Finally, the trees broke, and I found myself at the edge of a clearing. The moon hung bright above it, illuminating a scene that chilled me to the bone. In its light stood a circle of stones, meticulously arranged, like a twisted altar. Inside the circle, soft, flickering flames danced, casting long shadows that jumped and swayed across the ground. The air felt heavy, charged with some unseen energy. I hesitated. Should I approach the circle? Something deep inside warned me to turn back, but I felt drawn to it. As I stepped closer, I noticed something lying on the ground beside the stones. I bent down, my heart racing with each movement. It was a necklace, my sister's. I recognized it immediately, the delicate silver charm glinting in the moonlight. But how had it gotten here? Suddenly I heard a rustle behind me. My instincts screamed for me to run, but I was frozen in place. The shadows were coming, creeping along the edges of the clearing. I could feel their presence, now more tangible than before, pulling at the edges of my vision. "Join us," came the haunting whisper once again. I stumbled backward, clutching the necklace tightly. In that moment, something clicked in my mind. They weren't just shadows, they were tied to me, to my family. But how, and what did they want from me? Before I could process any of this, the laughter peaked, an echoing cacophony that wrapped around me. I ducked back toward the trees, fear coursing through me. I had to escape, but a part of me wanted to remain, to understand. But before I could decide my next move, I heard a familiar voice call out softly from the darkness behind me. "Help me, please." Everything froze as I turned toward the sound. There, just at the edge of the light, stood my sister, her eyes wide with terror, trapped in the shadows. I felt my heart drop. "No, no!" Before I could reach out, the shadows surged forward, enveloping her. "You're ours now," they chanted in unison. Driven by a surge of adrenaline, I lunged forward, determined to save her. But the shadows twisted around me, laughing, pulling me back. I couldn't give up. I had to break free, but it felt like the entire forest was against me, and just when I thought I had lost everything, I saw it, the flicker of a flame from the circle. Maybe it was the answer I needed. I caught my breath, nerves steadying. I had only one choice now. I had to confront the darkness, and I had to do it fast. I dashed toward the flames, ready to fight for both of us, desperate to understand what would happen next. As I sprinted toward the circle of flickering flames, the shadows clawed at my heels. Each wave of darkness felt alive, pulsing with an energy that wrapped around my legs like chains. I finally broke free from their grasp, stumbling into the flickering light of the fire. The warmth kissed my skin, a stark contrast to the frigid air, but my relief was short-lived. The flames crackled with a strange intensity, morphing into howling faces that seemed to warn me away. My sister's terrified eyes still haunted me. "Hold on!" I shouted into the void, hoping my voice would reach her. The flames snapped like impatient fingers, dancing erratically, urging me forward. Then the shadows swelled around the edge of the light, forming a grotesque line just beyond the fire. The whispers rose again, their voices now a symphony of rage and despair. "This is not your place!" they chanted, the sound vibrating through the ground beneath me. "Join us!" I could feel my resolve wavering. The fires shifted, revealing the necklace I clutched tightly in my hand, my sister's lifeline. It shimmered and pulsed as if it held a power of its own. I had to act. Maybe it could be my connection to her, a way to draw her back from the abyss. I stepped deeper into the circle, holding the necklace high above my head. "This belongs to my sister. You can't have her!" I yelled, conviction filling my voice. The laughter paused, replaced by a tense silence, thick enough to cut through. The shadows swirled around the fire, hesitant, as if the flames were challenging their authority. That's when I saw something horrific, a figure emerging from the darkness, ghostly and translucent. It was my sister, her face etched with fear. "Help me!" she screamed again, her voice echoing and twisting as if it was caught in the storm of the shadows. "Stay strong," I cried, reaching out toward her. My heart broke as her form flickered in and out, as if the shadows were pulling at her very essence. I took a step closer, my determination ignited by her plea. "You're not alone," But the shadows didn't take kindly to my defiance. They surged with a violence I hadn't expected, breaking against the boundary of the fire. The flames sputtered, and the light dimmed. I felt the heat retreating, fear creeping back in. I needed a plan. I remembered the stories I'd heard, the tales of offerings made in circles like this. Perhaps I needed to give something up, something powerful enough to create a distraction. If I must pay a price, so be it, I shouted, desperation coursing through my veins. I took the necklace and held it over the fire. The flames roared higher, licking greedily at the pendant. My sister's eyes widened in horror. "No, don't!" But as I let go, the necklace fell into the flames. In that moment, a brilliant flash filled the night. The shadows recoiled, their laughter morphing into shrieks. I felt the very air around me crackle and vibrate with tension. Then, silence. Everything dimmed, and I found myself staring into the heart of the flames. What had I done? The shadows recoiled further still, and the darkness beyond the circle stirred restlessly. Would my sacrifice work, or was it a decision that would seal both our fates? The flames began to shift again, this time revealing another figure, one cloaked in shadow. It stood tall and threatening, its presence far more ominous than the others. As it stepped forward, I felt an icy grip of fear squeeze my insides. I braced myself, uncertainty flooding my mind. What was this entity? And would it bring salvation or doom? The figure in the shadows emerged slowly, its movements fluid and deliberate. I squinted through the haze of smoke and flickering light. The shape was indistinct, but the energy radiating from it was palpable. Cold and dark, it seeped into my bones. "What have you done?" the figure rasped, its voice echoing like a distant thunder. I couldn't see its face, but I felt its gaze piercing through my defenses. My voice faltered. I wanted to defend my actions, to explain that I'd sacrificed the necklace to save my sister. Instead, I stood silently, dread tightening my throat. The shadows around us pulsed, almost rhythmically, as if they were breathing. I could hear the whispers grow louder, swirling like a storm. "You were warned," they hissed. "You cannot fight what you do not understand." I swallowed hard. "I understand enough," I shouted back, finding a flicker of courage. "I know my sister needs me." With a flick of its arm, the shadowy figure silenced the whispers. "You have released forces you cannot control," it said, its words chilling the air. "The fight is not yours alone." Suddenly, the flames surged higher, crackling furiously. The warmth returned, pushing back the chill of the shadowy entity. In that moment, I spotted something glimmering among the dancing embers, what looked like fragments of the necklace, shining brighter than the flames that surrounded them. "Your sacrifice was not in vain," the figure said, though its tone didn't offer comfort, "but it has awakened the hunger within." Those words echoed ominously in my mind. "And what do you mean?" I demanded. But before I could hear its answer, the shadows erupted in a frenzy. They swirled violently, coiling like serpents around the fire. I stepped back, my heart racing. The flames danced in rapid staccato, illuminating the malevolent forms lurking just beyond the sacred light. Then I saw her again, a flicker of my sister's face appearing behind the curtain of shadow. "Help me!" she screamed, but this time her voice sounded distant, as if she were trapped on the other side of a thick glass wall. "Not again!" I yelled, desperation clawing at my heart. I couldn't let her fade away again. "I'm coming for you." I rushed toward the shadows, fueled by love and fear. A sudden rush of cold air knocked me off balance, but I steadied myself. The figure blocked my path, its presence overwhelming. "You cannot hope to achieve what you desire," it warned. But I wasn't willing to back down. I had already made sacrifices. I couldn't stop now. The flames flickered wildly, as if they were aware of the brewing storm around us. My eyes darted to the ground, scanning for anything I could use against this entity. Then I noticed a small stone, oddly shaped and gleaming like a star against the dark earth. I snatched it up, feeling a strange energy pulse from it. The figure's eyes seemed to narrow at my discovery. "You think a mere stone can save her?" it mocked, but I could see uncertainty flicker within its shadowy form. I clenched the stone tightly, feeling an unexpected surge of defiance. "I won't let her go!" I shouted, mustering every ounce of courage I had. And then everything changed. The air crackled with energy, and the shadows began to retreat. I realized the stone had a power of its own. That's when I heard it, a thundering roar echoing from the depths of the dark. Something else was coming, and it was far more terrifying than I could have imagined. My heart raced at the thought of what lay ahead. Would I be able to save my sister? Or had I unleashed a force that would consume us both? The roar echoed through the shadows, chilling me to the bone. It was unlike anything I had heard before, deep and guttural, reverberating as if the earth itself was warning me. I held the stone tightly, its warmth steadying my shaking hands. The figure in front of me seemed to waver, its shadowy form flickering like the flames. "Time is running out," it said, urgency creeping into its tone. "What you've awakened is not merely a shadow. It is a hunger, a relentless force that will destroy everything in its path to get what it wants." I could feel the heat of the fire behind me, but the air ahead grew colder. A dark shape, massive and fierce, burst from the shadows, its eyes glowing like embers. It lunged, intent on breaking through the barrier of light. I gasped, knowing I was standing at the edge of something monumental. My instincts screamed for me to run, but I couldn't abandon my sister. "Leave her alone!" I shouted, stepping forward despite the fear coursing through me. The stone in my hand vibrated as if responding to my defiance. "Foolish child," the figure hissed, watching with an almost gleeful malice. "You are not equipped to face what is to come." I couldn't let its words sway me. I felt the energy of the stone surge with each word I spoke. "I will face it," I declared, my voice stronger than I expected. "I will fight for her." The creature paused, sizing me up, its massive shadow looming over me. "Your courage is admirable," it hissed, "but what will it cost you?" In an instant, the shadows twisted and twisted again, forming a vortex that threatened to pull me in. I braced myself, focusing on the stone and the warmth still radiating from the fire. With a surge of determination, I shouted, "I will not be consumed!" The ground beneath me trembled, and the shadows began to unravel, revealing glimpses of the past. I saw my sister, trapped in a world of darkness, her face contorted in fear. My heart shattered at the sight. I couldn't let that image haunt me forever. Then a bright flash exploded from the stone, illuminating the darkness, dispersing the shadows for just a moment. I felt the air shift, the oppressive weight easing slightly. I knew I had to act quickly. "Sister!" I cried out, reaching out as if I could close the distance between us. But the creature retaliated, unleashing a wave of cold so fierce it knocked me to my knees. "This is no game," it roared, its voice filled with fury. "You meddle with forces beyond your understanding." I scrambled to get back to my feet. As the shadows recoiled momentarily, I caught another glimpse of my sister's face. "Help me!" she screamed again, desperation etched into her features. I fled the darkness, fueled by my need to save her. I had to push through this. I had to fight. Without thinking, I hurled the stone into the shadows, watching as it struck the ground and burst into a cascade of light that flooded the space. The shadows shrieked, needing to regroup. I felt the energy from the stone racing back toward me. "Yes," I shouted, realizing I could use it to channel my will. But as the light erupted, I noticed something else emerging, a new figure, different from the first. This one glowed, its form distinct and shimmering in the darkness. It bore an unsettling resemblance to my sister. What did this mean? I felt as if I was caught in a web, with forces playing a game I didn't understand. I had unleashed something that could change everything, and deep down, dread filled my heart. I needed to find out who this bright figure was. I needed answers, and fast. As the shadows coiled around me once more, I braced for whatever came next. The brilliant figure stepped closer, its light pulsing rhythmically as it approached. Just as the shadows whispered, eager to reclaim their hold, I willed myself to focus on this radiant presence. It bore an unmistakable resemblance to her, but it was different. Was it my sister in some other form, or was it something even deeper, a fragment of her light pulled from the darkness? "Liam," it said, the voice echoing like a gentle breeze, warm and familiar yet still shrouded in mystery. "I have been waiting for you to see." "Is it really you?" My heart raced, stepping toward it, desire and fear warring inside of me. Are you okay?" "It's not that simple," the figure responded, its voice echoing with a kind of wisdom that transcended the moment. "You must understand, I am part of what was lost. To break free, you must confront what has been taken." The shadows lurched forward, snapping at the edges of the light. I couldn't afford to look back. I narrowed my focus back on my sister's figure. "What do you mean? What do I have to confront?" "The darkness feeds on your memories," it explained, sadness threading through the words. "Grief and fear are its roots. You cannot escape it without facing what you truly desire. Only then can you find peace." My hands trembled as I took a step back. The shadowy figures were still swarming, and I could feel their pull tugging at my very being. "But I don't want to lose you again. How do I do that?" The figure's glow brightened momentarily, illuminating the scattered stones that remained, a reminder of the necklace I had sacrificed. "Face the source of your sorrow, Liams. It is the only way." I shivered as the shadows surged, threatening to engulf the light. I had to make a choice. Would I run into the darkness where the echoes of my past resided, or would I cling to this form of hope before me? "I can't," I whispered, voice strained as doubt flooded me. "I can't face that. I'm afraid." "Fear is necessary," it said, its tone steady and soothing. "But it must not be the master of your heart." As the last words lingered, the shadows lunged, engulfing the figure and swallowing its light. I gasped, reality crashing down around me. "No!" I screamed, panic invading my thoughts. The chill of despair wrapped around me, its icy breath a reminder that time was running short. In that moment, I felt the energy of the stone surge again, a warmth surging through my body. It pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat, and suddenly clarity washed over me. I glimpsed the truth behind the shadows. They weren't just a manifestation of darkness. They were tied to my fear, my unresolved grief. "Okay, I'll face them," I shouted, the flames flickering violently in agreement. "I won't let you take me." With fierce determination, I edged onto the circle once more, gathering strength. Somewhere deep inside, something profound shifted. I could almost feel my sister's spirit guiding me. "Help me understand what I need to do." I called out into the void, the shadows dancing wildly. "Release us!" The air crackled around me as I prepared for what lay ahead. The shadows twisted and breathed heavily, encircling me like a tormented storm. Would I find her? Or was this darkness truly insatiable? Echoes of laughter bounced off the shadows, deep and chilling. "You think you can break free?" they hissed, taunting me. "You are ours. This pain will consume you." But in that moment I focused on my sister's light. Her essence shone in my mind, her laughter and joy, undiminished by the scars of time. The light from the stone in my hand erupted outward, expanding into a brilliant sphere that illuminated the surrounding forest. The shadows shrieked and recoiled, their forms distorting as they fought against the radiance. "Let us go!" I called against the chaos, my voice rising above the cacophony. "You don't control me anymore!" The stone pulsed brightly, each thrum syncing with the heartbeat of my truth. The shadows wavered, uncertain against this newfound fortitude. I felt the connected pull toward the memories I had stifled, the loss, the grief I had buried beneath layers of denial. In an instant, I saw a vision of my sister, her smile catching the light of the day, the joy that used to color our shared moments. I let it wash over me, allowing grief to bloom within me, recognizing its place, but no longer allowing it to shatter me. Suddenly, a figure rushed toward me through the dark. I braced myself, fear bubbling anew, but as the shadows parted, what rushed through the darkness was not destructive. It was a form glowing with a familiar warmth. My sister's illuminated spirit merged with the pulsing light, and with it came a wave of overwhelming emotion. I reached out towards the radiant spirit embracing me, whispering urgently with a brand of desperation, "We can fight this, together." In that moment, I felt myself galvanize with fierce love. The shadows collided against the light, hissing and hurling themselves at us in a frantic attempt to re-establish their control. But our flames, my sister's light and my resolve, bore down upon the darkness. With a sudden, blinding flash, our combined efforts erupted free. The shadows swirled and began to dissolve, losing form and substance, shrieking in defeat as they crumbled into nothingness. The air cleared, and a profound silence filled the space, leaving not just warmth, but hope intermingling with the settling dust. "No more," I proclaimed, standing firm in the circle of light that now enveloped us. "We are free." As the final shadows evaporated, I felt the burning connection to my past shift. The gentle warmth wrapped around me, filling the void the darkness had left. The clearing now stood eerily calm, the moonlight brightening in a testament to our victory. I clutched the stone and glanced toward where the shadows once roamed, still echoing memories lost in their depths. But even that now felt manageable. "I'm sorry," I said, feeling the bittersweet weight of my sister's presence beside me. The glow around her flickered as if she were anchored between worlds. "We must carry the memories, Liam," she replied softly, the warmth of her spirit still radiating strength. "But we cannot live in them." I held her gaze, feeling renewed conviction. There were still questions lingering in the corners of my mind. What would happen next? How would I move on now? But as I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, I felt the ability to face them seep into my veins. The dark forest lay behind us, but the new dawn ahead shimmered with promise. Together, we would find our way home. In that regard, the shadows did not win.